first thing I did was to opt out of my pension contributions.
I did that too.
I was like, yo, I need my money today. Listen, I need to get paid right now.
Welcome back to our channel, and for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome to Skilled Finances. My name's Lindy and this is Tando. So today we're going to be having a bit of a chat really. So we're going to be talking about 7 unpopular money tips.
You may have heard of some of these in the past, but these are really, I guess, tough to really put into practice for many people in many cases because, they sound good on the surface, but maybe need a little bit of effort and work to actually make it work. But trust me, these 7 tips that we're going to talk about have literally changed the game for us.
Yeah.
Our finances have literally gone to another level and another level and another level because of putting these money tips into practice. And so they're not the sexiest or the most popular thing you'll hear about money, but they would genuinely change your finances. And so to start us off with, the first unpopular money tip that I want to share with you is to always save some money. Now, this literally counts whether your income is, low, mid or high.
Yeah.
You're the judge of that. But no matter your income, always save something. You could not have any reasons that you think, I want to save for a house, I want to save for a car. That doesn't really matter. Just learn, have the practice to put money aside from the money that you get. What do you think about that?
I actually agree with you because back in the day, I used to think, what's the point? Like, why should I even bother saving? If I'm only earning a certain amount that's enough for me to live by, why should I even save it? Or the other thing was, well, saving £5 is not really going to help me in the long run. It's pointless. And I'm sure there's a lot of us that used to feel like that, or a lot of us that still feel like that. Like, well, if I'm just saving £5, what difference does it make? However, the benefit of even saving that £5 or £2 or whatever it is that in the long run, you start to build up that momentum and you start to build that habit of saving, and it will definitely help you in the long run when you then start earning more money and you can save more. But I also feel like it genuinely does make a difference. But I know, like, when you're looking at it, it seems like, well, why should I bother? It's quite pointless, but it actually really is helpful.
And it's a habit, as you've said.
Yeah.
And the thing is, okay, fair enough, you may start with £5 in January, February, but by March and April time, you may start to think, well, how can I make it £5 to £7, or maybe £50 to £100, or 100 to 500? Like, how can I ramp it up a little bit more? Just simply because, you're now starting to learn the habit of saving up money. So that's the first tip. Definitely save money no matter your income and no matter how much it is. The second tip is to get insurance.
Right.
This is a big one, I feel. There's a lot of, misconception maybe, or misunderstanding, to be fair, about insurance. It's one of those things that there's a lot of options. There's also a lot of jargon out there about what insurance is for what and what's for that. But getting insurance is also an unpopular tip that I think everybody should definitely have some insurance.
Yeah, and I'd definitely say that a lot of times when people talk about insurance, I think sometimes people just switch off. At times people will think, okay, I've got mobile phone insurance, for example, and I'm paying £8 a month for it. And what's the point of paying it if my phone's just never going to break, right? But the term insurance in and of itself means that it will cover you if anything then does happen, because you and I can't predict whether that phone's going to break at some point or not, but that insurance will come in really handy the day maybe you drop the phone or you lose the phone or anything happens to it. At least you've got that insurance backing you.
Yeah, and I'll be fair. I mean, phone insurance is probably one of those things that you could argue maybe not, depending on the phone that you've got.
Yeah.
But there are some insurances that, in my personal opinion, everybody should have. And on that list, I'd probably put things like life insurance.
Absolutely.
Potentially home insurance as well. Car insurance, just because you don't have a choice, to be fair. That's just the law of the land. But these are insurances that are very critical. So there's so many benefits from insurance.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those unpopular money tips that not many people really look into.
I think when I think of life insurance, right, the way I see it is I can't be paying for car insurance if I'm not paying for life insurance, because a car is like a materialistic thing. Yes, I need it, but it's a materialistic thing that I can replace. Once someone has passed away, for example, if there's not enough money, or if we're then left in a difficult financial situation after someone's passed away, when you really think about it, if there was a life insurance policy and it paid out, yes, it's hard to grieve the loss of someone, but because you've then got that life policy there or you've got that money there, it could help you out, because the last thing you want is to lose someone and then also find yourself in a really, really difficult financial situation where you're probably struggling to pay for the house or you're struggling to pay the bills or whatever, because the person that was sort of contributing towards those bills or contributing towards that house is now gone. So I kind of think, to me, what's more important, life insurance or car insurance? Life insurance to me is way more important. That's why I pay for life insurance.
Yeah. All right. So tip number 3 is kind of similar to life insurance or linked to life insurance, but basically it's about getting older. And the third tip is to save up for your retirement. Now, I remember when I first got my proper job, my
Right.
adult job, and genuinely speaking, the first thing I did was to opt out of my pension
Yeah,
contributions.
I did that too.
I was like, yo, I need my money today. Listen, I need to get paid right now. Like, this whole thing about putting money aside for pension this is not the one, especially considering the fact that, it was my first job.
Yeah.
And actually the salary was kind of low, but, it was more than enough for what I needed, if I'm being honest. But still, either way, I completely said to myself, I am not opting into this pension because retirement is so far away. Like,
Yeah.
it's decades away. Why am I thinking about it today? But trust us, you need to think about saving up for your retirement as of right now. There is no guarantee that the state pension will still be here by the time that we are at retirement age, number
Right.
one. Number two, retirement age in and of itself is something that keeps creeping up. It could be 75 by the time that we get to retirement. Who
Yeah.
knows? I don't know. But the point is this: you need to look after your own self in retirement and make sure that you're covered for your retirement financially.
Absolutely. And I think for me, when it comes to saving for retirement, is I don't want to feel like a burden for the people that then have to look after me if I've not saved anything. So, for example, if we have children by that point, right? And then I'm then like a burden to my children because my children are then having to cover me. Yet when I was in a position where I could have saved for retirement, I was like, no, I want the money. I want to enjoy it
Come
now.
on.
I want to live my best life. That's the way that I've chosen to look at it. I'm not trying to be a burden for anyone. I'm not trying to be a burden to my children. I'm not trying to have them take away from what they could be doing with their money to then look after me. So what can I do right now? Well, I can save into a pension. I can save some money aside for retirement. So that's the way that I've chosen to look at this particular opinion.
Yeah, and there's so many different options for you to save up for retirement. You can literally start today with anything, whether you're employed, self-employed,
Right.
an entrepreneur, whatever you are, you definitely have so many different ways that you can save up for retirement. So definitely check those out. Tip number 4 for the unpopular money tips of today that we're covering is the fact that earning more money doesn't mean you need to or you get to spend more money. Like, earning more money doesn't mean I have more money to spend, basically.
Yeah.
It's understanding that, well, if I get a pay rise, if I get a new job and there's more money or whatever the case is, the automatic default response to me earning more money shouldn't be, oh, look, I can afford to buy this and we can afford to
Yeah.
spend money over here and we can afford to buy this. This is such a hard mindset shift to have because the natural tendency is, oh, we can now afford a bigger house. Oh, we can now afford this kind of car. We can now afford these things that we've been putting off all
Yeah.
of this time because we didn't have the money for it. Now, listen, we're not against, upgrading your lifestyle. That's not the point. But the point is that just because you've earned more money or you got a pay rise or whatever the case is, the default response shouldn't be spending that money. You should look at other ways to use that extra money in better ways. So, for example, you could save up that money. You could put that money towards your investments. You can put the money towards paying down your debts, etc. But it's
Yeah.
really about shifting your mindset to pay yourself first rather than spending every single money that you get, even if it's from a pay rise.
And I like that you mentioned paying off your debts, because you could genuinely look at that and think, well, I've got more money now. I can focus on solely paying off my debt with this pay rise and get myself out of debt a lot quicker than I would have been with the salary that I was earning before. So try and focus on the things that genuinely really, really matter. And maybe you can say, okay, I'm earning £500 more now. I'm going to take 400 of that £500 and put it towards savings, put it towards debts, put it towards saving up in my emergency fund, or covering things that genuinely really do matter. And then out of that 500, I'll take £100 and increase my spending money.
Yeah.
That also works. But I guess it's about having that mindset shift to then think, what are the things that really matter? What goals am I working towards? What things am I trying to achieve really quickly? Let me use the money for that, but then take a small portion out of that and then enjoy that
Yeah.
small portion rather than enjoying the whole £500.
Yeah, and it took us a while to learn this.
Yeah.
It took us some real good time to really knuckle down on this particular tip. You know, at first we got extra money and we spent that extra money. So we had to learn that more money doesn't mean spending more money at the same time. And this links on to the next tip, which is to avoid unnecessary debt. We completely understand that sometimes debt is not something that you can avoid. Sometimes you do need to leverage debt in terms of, you know, paying off for something that's unexpected, or you need to borrow something every month and pay for it every month in order for you to cover the thing that you need to. It's understandable, but there are some debts that you can actually definitely avoid. It's particularly some that are completely unnecessary, in our opinion. For us, this literally covers things like buy now, pay later, especially if it's things like
Absolutely.
fashion or
Yeah.
gadgets or anything like that. I mean, things like that, genuinely speaking, you have to question yourself. Is it worth me getting into debt for this particular item? Is it worth me paying every single month for the next 2 years for this particular item? Like, if it's something that you definitely deem as unnecessary, then you have the option to walk away and avoid that
Absolutely.
unnecessary debt.
And I think, like, for me personally, when I start to think about buy now, pay later, because there's been times when I've been shopping and I'm thinking, and I'm looking at the amount in the basket and I'm like, oh, there's buy now, pay later at the bottom. The way I've sort of then dealt with that is to look at myself and think, okay, this thing costs me £7, for example. If I genuinely don't have £7 to pay for it, then I cannot afford to buy it now and pay for it later. But if I have the £7, let me just pay for it. Like, certain things are genuinely unnecessary. You don't want to find yourself in unnecessary debt over something that was £2, £3, or £5. But like you were saying, at times you then have situations where you have no choice but then to take out that debt or use your credit card for a genuine emergency. But it's important to then avoid unnecessary debt.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the next money tip is to track your net worth. Now, net worth is something that, I'll be honest, it's not something that I've thought about, at least in the early days, and it's not something that we necessarily even understood the importance of doing it. But as you're tracking your net worth, there are so many things that will start to happen.
Right.
So first of all, for those of you who are unaware, your net worth is essentially where you calculate the total amount of assets that you own, and you basically compare that amount to the total amount of liabilities that you owe. So you're on the assets column, you're basically putting things like the value of your property or properties, any commodities that you have, stocks and shares, your investments, your savings, how much you have in your emergency fund, your savings accounts, and all that kind of stuff. And if you really want to go down into it, you can also put things like the value of your car, the value of your jewelry, the value of all of the things that you own, and basically calculate what's the total amount of that. And then on the liabilities element, you're looking at things, basically all the debts that you have, all your borrowing that you've got, credit cards, mortgages, loans, overdrafts, student loan, money you've borrowed from friends and family, all of that kind of stuff then sits on your liabilities column. And you're basically saying, what's the difference between how much I own and how much I owe? And that difference then becomes your net worth. Now, the reason why it's important to track this is because every financial decision that you make will either boost your assets or boost your liabilities. If you really think about it, if you're going to be saving up money or you're going to be investing, you're basically boosting your assets. If you're going to be borrowing money and getting into those debts that we mentioned earlier on, you're boosting your liabilities. And tracking it over time gives you a good indication of how your financial journey is going. And it also allows you to actually start to think ahead with your finances. You start to think to yourself like, well, my net worth is this today, and I've been tracking it for the last year. This time last year it was here. Today it's gone up by X amount, or we can just kind of keep growing this and keep going. You know, tracking your net worth is not like just for the rich and wealthy for them to do on their own. It's something that we think you should be doing because it definitely helps you for financial planning purposes, setting financial goals, but also understanding the impact of your financial decisions. That if I make this financial decision, which column, which side will it boost? Is it going to be the asset side or is it going to be liability side? And what's the impact that's going to have on my financial health overall?
Yeah, I think before I wouldn't say I wasn't big on calculating my net worth. I think I just didn't bother with it. I knew what a net worth was, and why it was important, but I was just like, oh well, it doesn't really matter. But it took us doing it the first time and then seeing what our net worth was. And I looked at it and I thought, no, it can't be this. Do you know what I mean? And that was a push enough to get me to then think, okay, what can I then do to increase my net worth? What can I be doing to not put myself in situations where our liabilities are actually way more than our assets? So that was enough for me to then think, okay, yeah, completely need to keep working on this and keep calculating it and keep working on it as we go. And I think I then sort of looked at it as, like when you're on a weight loss journey, for example, there's nothing that brings you so much joy as when you see those pounds or those kgs going down, because you're on a journey to lose weight. You want to be seeing the numbers going down. And I think for me, on the flip side, when you're calculating your net worth, you want to be seeing your net worth go up. So there's nothing that brings you so much joy as seeing the numbers go up every time you do your calculation. So yeah, definitely, that's a good one to do.
Yeah. And tip number 7. Tip number 7 is another unpopular money tip. And it is this: to set aside a portion of your money to give to others. Now, whether you give to family or friends, or whether you give to charitable causes that you believe in, or you give to your local church, like that's essentially what we're talking about with this tip.
Right.
This is so powerful. I feel like, one of the best things that I do with my money is to give it away.
Yeah.
Because it really enforces a mindset of generosity and a mindset of appreciation.
Yeah.
It really puts me in perspective to understand that I may have my financial goals and I may have things that I want to attain, but I also have the ability today, right now, to help somebody else.
Absolutely.
I also have the ability today, right now, to empower another person who doesn't have what I have. And I may not live in the fanciest house and I may not drive the fanciest car you'll ever see, but I'm still in a position of privilege from a financial perspective because I can afford certain luxuries and lifestyles that another person can't afford. And therefore, my ability to give, even if it's £10, even if it's £100, even if it's £1,000, it doesn't matter the amount. It's just the mindset of giving your money to other people will really enhance your appreciation of genuinely where you are right now in life.
Yeah, I definitely have to say I completely agree with everything that you said. We're actually really big on giving, and we're actually really big on giving to other people that are less fortunate than we are. Yes, we may not have it all, and yes, we may not be millionaires and be earning as much as other people, but the fact that we can do it for someone else just brings us so much joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are the 7 unpopular money tips that we wanted to talk about today and share them with you because, as we said earlier on, these tips genuinely have helped us in our finances and to level up our money mindset, our financial habits, and just change the way we view money and the way what we do with our money and our finances on a year-by-year basis. And we hope that it's kind of maybe sparked a light in you, opened your eyes to see things a little bit differently, or maybe reminded you or reignited a fire that you once had to do something else with your money, to do something differently with your money. Personally, for me, out of those 7, my favorite one is definitely about giving. Giving is such of high importance to me. I definitely am an advocate for that. But we'd love to know, what is the number one habit or the number one tip, the number one thing that you're taking away from this video? Let us know in the comments, so that we'd love to know which one of these things that you're going to put into practice from today. If you find value in this, obviously like this video, subscribe to keep up to tab with what we're talking about and to not miss any further discussions. Hit the notification bell to stay up to date with us as well. We appreciate your time and for joining us today, and we hope this has been useful. We will catch you soon.